Welcome to the Afro Storybook, collective wisdom and revelations from Africa and her diaspora. This is part 7, hopes, inspirations, and projects to create a better world. Hello, my name is Alexandra Loves Aya Iwo Riosa. Thank you for joining us through this storybook. When I created this offering, I had no idea I would be so affected by what my guests shared. Even when I revisited to edit all of the interviews together, I did feel that shift inside. It's kind of like what Rachel said about her family earlier. It feels like there's a little piece of me everywhere. I'm going to continue making audio and visual offerings like this, and I'd like to continue to pay those involved and maybe next time get a professional editor. Later this year, I hope to release a documentary about my recent pilgrimage and the interviews I conducted in West Africa. And if you'd like to support this or work that's coming in the future, please consider going to my Patreon. You'll find me at Woke Wisdom Podcast. I found out during this process that all of my guests are involved in projects and creations that educate people or support communities. They are literally making the world a better place. In this part of the storybook, they share about what they have going on and some inspiring parting words. Many of my guests have more projects than shared in this podcast, so please go to the website at wokewisdompodcast.com and hit the tab Afro Storybook to check them out, follow, or support. Jacob Mala Diabate continues to perform around the world. Check out his Tiny Desk concert. It is awesome. He's working with several groups to build a school to what sounds like teach peace, love, and spirituality through music.
I came to America to looking for some opportunity. I am working with a lot of people, the architect from New Orleans, San Francisco, Phoenix, New York, Washington, North Carolina, to build the school about the culture, to don't forget the culture, and to keep this music, because there's no music, no life. I want to my schools to teach the kora, the goni, the bala, the dance, the different language, and singing for the peace and for the culture. That's America. I need some help. I need some help. I'm here, people wondering to help me, but the COVID coming, everything come down again slow, but we try to start working, inshallah.
Jiboria Blavet remains focused on supporting children and helping them find peace and dignity in this world. She loves to introduce them to their greatest teachers, nature. She supports many children in West Africa right out of her own pocket and through fundraising.
For me, creating a better world is when we all have food and peace. Peace is very important. With me in my job, I inspire children to have peace with each other. That doesn't mean you don't need to fight for your right. But we can do it in a peaceful way. That is what I tell children. If you have a problem with your friend or something, talk. Not first, using our hand, using some kind of weapon. Peace and love is the most important thing, because we have to start from the children. The grown-up, the adult, is very difficult. But we don't lose hope. That's why we have to give our children the best. It's peace, freedom of speech, but in an humble and respectful way. Then Tell them, educate them to respect each other, to respect, the nature. If I tell my school children, I don't go in the wood, going there and, just walking there and screaming and do all kind. No, I go to the wood, to the forest, to pray, to meditate. And if I go there with them, I show them how to do that. And they go home, they will tell their parents about it. Said, we are giving respect to the animals in the forest. We are giving the respect to the, to the trees and everything. What is there? If you go to the river, I tell them how I have learned it. And I give that. I share it with them. Share your view, your culture you have grown up with, the tradition. We know what is good and what is not good. That we know. We are adults. But children, they don't know. They are really innocent. And if we bring them the good way up, to come up with a good way, they will be. Sometimes, if you are in teenage, you forget what all the good behavior sometimes your parents taught you. But if you are growing up, you go back to that sometimes. You go back to what you receive because it's in. It got in your system. But if we don't do anything, we don't give them any education, then they will not remember one day the good way of living. We have to do everything that everyone will have everyday food to eat, to survive in this world. It's very important. We throw a lot of food away. And some, they don't even have a meal of day. So that too is in my education. Eat what you get today. Maybe tomorrow you cannot have it. That is how I share what I have learned.
Judy Kalunga Kabwele is a student of criminology and security studies. Like I said, the world has not heard the last of her. She's raising money to complete her schooling. If you can support her in this, I will share her contact on the website.
Now in Kenya, I am inspired of being. I usually have a passion of being a political leader in Kenya. I usually admire those people in politics, the way they do their things now. I usually have that aim of pursuing my degree, doing all those things, and then join to be a member of politics. I usually like politics, and I usually enjoy those people like the president, the way they do their things, the people like governors, the life they live. I usually work harder, so that I can live a better life than like those people. And I usually want to join, like when I'm done with my degree now and get work, I will involve myself to politics. I want to be a politician, fighting for rights of Kenyan and making sure that the crimes are less committed in Kenya, in my country.
Rachel Bashabe is a fashion designer. Her brand is African Print Clothing and Design. The materials she uses are from Uganda, Congo, Tanzania, and expanding to other countries. These prints help teach people about their culture and support unique self-expression. She's bringing this culture worldwide, and you can see her designs on IG and the website, which I did link. Also, she remains inspired and is cheering on the generations who are going against the norm. I personally think she would be a great mentor to those young, creative entrepreneurs that are just getting their start.
You know what? feel like people are more vocal. The fact that we say it as it is and we're learning to heal, that's something that is inspiring more and more. We are no longer accepting where we are. We are trying to seek within ourselves, how do we become better? How do we grow? How do we deal with our past traumas? Also seeing the younger generation literally look for other ways of not necessarily just making money, but showing their creativity. I can't explain how much I love how they're rebellious from the normal norms or cultural things that we grew up to. Oh, no, we're not going to uni. No, we're not going to high school, whatever. I'm going to stick to what I like. And I love that. Yes, it can be very daunting, but I've seen a lot of my little cousins and nephews that are taking these paths. They're loving it. They're being full of themselves. Yes, they're stumbling, but it's things that I wish I had. I don't know, I wish I was that rebellious when I was your age. Also, loving how the world is starting to question more about our race and making us have these uncomfortable conversations within not just necessarily race, but where you're from, your morals, your understanding of community, politics, which obviously we are decimating every single day, and with the freedom of speech to an extent, depending on the country you're coming from. I'm just excited about those things. And also if you look at like current state, when here they announced that there's going to be a recession towards the end of the year, and everyone's like, okay, fine, we get it, there's going to be a recession, but we're kind of like that generation where we're going to get through this, at least on our own terms and not what you're telling us, which can be scary, but I prefer that than how our parents grew up or their generation of scaremongering and all of that. So, yeah. But I'm very more excited about the young people and their creativity because, oh Lord Jesus, they're teaching us, the older people, what we needed to be doing. I'm like, yes, I'm going to learn.
Andrea Sugar Black Encinas loves teaching in schools, community groups, and churches, and she's just gotten back into it in Trinidad. She's teaching history through music. She's starting with slavery rights through colonization and into reparations, and doing it through calypso and reggae and other types of music. And she's still working with her small farm and garden. She reminds us of the importance of working with the land.
So I decided, having looked in the shops for organic food, you know, in England, you could get everything you want, and not finding food that I could trust, and knowing that the farmers here were using a lot of pesticides, I decided to extend the garden and start growing my own food. So that's what I did. And it's addictive. It is the best thing. I mean, I should have moved home years ago and get into agriculture because I love getting my hands in the dirt. I love planting and growing, seeing it grow and reap. It's a very spiritual thing. And because it's not something that happens overnight, growth, and it teaches a lot of it teaches a lot of stuff, because you could plant some seeds and they die, nothing comes, and that time is, and then you plant them and they start to grow, and then they could die still, and and then some grow and they grow full bloom, and it's about, my key thing was about understanding the soil, the foundation, understanding how to build soil and how soils are depleted and what to do, what we have to do to start putting back in to get something out, So is that it teaches you patience, because things don't grow, They take 2 months, 3 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, 5 years in some fruit trees and stuff to grow. So it teaches you patience, and it teaches you, therefore, in patience, the fact that you have to nurture. You have to know what it needs. You have to know when it needs it, to put it back, to put it in, so that you could get something out. So there are so many parallels about life and how we live and what we should do in relationships, because that's what we have in our plans, a relationship, you know. We want to get something at the end out of it, and we need to know how to nurture it, feed it, you know, give it life, keep it alive, so that it could do that. So it teaches a lot. It's very, 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 that's why I say it's my church. It's a very, very spiritual thing. So, yeah.
Elaine Fusion Clapham continues to storytell, create community events, and bring the magic out in people. His creative entrepreneurship seems to always be based on creative expression and forming communities that support healing through connection. And also, he created BMT Stories, and that celebrates awesome everyday stories of Black men and women. And I can say that these posts and reels bring me the most joy to my feed on IG. BMT also holds community events, so if you're listening from London, go check it out. Here's Elaine talking about how BMT Stories came about.
We are on a clock. Everyone's thinking this linear world goes from left to right. It goes round and round. And we need to just get right with the rhythm. And we call it BMT, Black Man Time, because it was a joke. Black man's always late. Always late. Ha! Used to be Black People Time, but I think the sisters got together, had a convention, they didn't invite us, so they managed to slip out. Now it's just the man them's late. The joke is we say barbecue at 4, don't come at 4, we ain't put the coals on yet. Come at 5, come at 6. White people have a dinner party, they say 5 o'clock, don't come at 6, everyone's already eating the starters, you know. But we took Black Man Time, is that when you take time with us to see us, we're on time, you know. So we need to get on our own schedule. And I think, you know, you can't know your future without knowing your past. So a future that remembers the past, and we need it now. So.
Belén Ramirez is an ambassador of the World Literacy Foundation. She's committed to multiple programs and volunteer work that help people who are needing support, especially in financial education and literacy. She is a devoted changemaker. And at the time of this interview, she was excited about starting college and on her way to starting an NGO.
Something I wanted to share is just like a message for the people that are like listening to this podcast. Like, you don't need to care about your age. You can be 10, you can be 11, you can be 12, you can be 13, you can be 14. I started at 13 years old in this world of organizations and taking care of the world. And the only thing you need to have is confidence in yourself. Because if you are confident of what you are doing, you can do an amazing change. And you will start like with 5 volunteers or with 1 volunteer. But if you give all your effort to that activity that you really want to do for achieving a goal and for changing your community and for giving an impact, you just need to believe in yourself. And everything you want will come true.
Mike Crenshaw remains a prolific lyricist and MC here on the West Coast, based in Portland. On almost any day of the week, you can catch him performing or supporting community spaces. His most recent album is called Earthbound, and you can find that on the website. He is part of many collaborative projects, including Rebelwise, and you heard him perform with Rebelwise at the end of part 5 of the Storybook. His first book is coming out this year.
I'm not sitting on the bench. I'm not in the bleachers eating popcorn or some big nasty pretzel or something. You know, I'm on the field. We're on the field. We got work to do. We have to win, you know, and this is the most alive I've ever felt, because the stakes are higher than they've always been this high, probably. But I think we're aware. I know I'm aware of like the depth of what's at stake. And when I really weigh that, well, what is at stake? Like, mass extinction is on the table. It's actually happening, right? So what does that mean? That means that all the worst nightmares that you can imagine are actually like transpiring on a day-to-day basis. And what that means is that something else is not only possible, but it's imminent. And so the question is, what do we get to create? How much power do we really have? Well, we're going to find out. We get to participate in answering that question. And that's what's certain. And the unknown is, well, what do we get to create? And that's something that only comes from working forward, together. Like, none of us is going to figure this out alone.
Olutosin Oladoshu Adeboale continues on with Sister City, and that offers free community support, including things like learning how to tailor, hairdress, catering, carpentry and joinery, and cloth weaving, just to name a few. All of these are skills that can help someone support a family. Her group delivers food, especially to elders and those in extreme conditions that need help. She continues to expand her farms and community programs, and also, she's an artist, a truly inspired one.
Because I know if we have the abundance, we'll be able to move to other states. We'll be able to help as many as possible. So that is the only thing that is inspiring. I don't sleep. I'm always thinking about it. That is it. That's it. And we have our training coming up in June 25, leadership training on transformation. Transformation is basically how to change from the root. So I attended the program in Cape Town 13 years ago, and then I sent a message to the school to please bring down the training to Nigeria, that I'll be able to make provision for housing and accommodation for participants while they will provide the other thing that is needed. So that instead of one person traveling to Cape Town can come and train 10, 15 people at the same time in Nigeria. And the more we have more people like us, the more Nigeria will transform.
Is there anything else that you would like to share? I don't have any more questions, but is there anything else you would like to share?
I am somebody who went through domestic violence. So I believed I was treated like trash. When you marry somebody who, maybe you marry a woman that you think she does not have people who will fight for her, you will treat her the way you want. If you marry from a family that these people, if I beat their daughter, they will come back in full force and jail me, you will not be able to do that. So when I saw that the way I was being treated, I did not like it. I decided, because by then it was affecting me psychologically. So I decided to use what is bad to create what is good. And then I began to use pieces of fabrics, small pieces of fabrics thrown away by tailors. I began to use them to create beautiful artworks. So I can sit down for a whole month creating one artwork. Artwork for the wall. I can use pieces of fabrics, tiny pieces like 1 million pieces, to create one woman. So this artwork will allow me to live in my dream. It allows me to lift my burden and also to take me far away from the poverty and the abuse I was experiencing. Sometimes for a whole day, I can spend 20 hours creating a woman with pieces of fabrics. At first, when I started creating this, people will laugh at me, they will mock me. She's using rag, she's this, she's that. But one day, I took this artwork to America, and my sisters in America, they bought this so much that the artwork connected me to many women. And the story behind my work was so strong, it created a web of women in my journey. So do you see the beginning of this? And it is this hard work that has connected me to you today. So the person who told you about me saw my hard work. Many people supporting my work, they supported because of why I was doing those artwork. So in life, I've discovered that nothing is nothing. Nobody is a nobody. If I could create artwork from trash and people in different countries hanging those artwork on their wall, and they are sending thousands of dollars to me, and I've been able to build houses from this, so you know nobody is a nobody. Throughout my primary school, I never owned one sandal. So I walk to school barefooted every day. These days, my friends will post my pictures in our annual photograph, sitting like this without shoes, with nothing. But then the nobody of that time is here today building houses for women who are abandoned. That is the conclusion of my thoughts to you, my sister. Nothing is nothing. Nobody is a nobody. When the time comes, nobody will become somebody. Nothing will become something. We only need to give time, enough time. Time will take care of everything.
And then there's me. By listening to this storybook, you're experiencing a lot of what I do. My first dive into the world of audio presentation is with the Woke Wisdom podcast. And my main work is through the Moon Garden Temple as a spiritual guide and oracle reader. I'm mostly focused on helping women restore their roots and create the lives they most desire. I'm also the project coordinator and creative director of Seven Vision Studios, where we offer an emergent narrative that inspires the next generation of visionaries, highlighting the stories that bring us back in relationship with one another and a greater community. I suggest going to the website so you can find, connect, like, or even support any of the guests from the Afro Storybook. I posted longer chunks of the interviews if you want to hear a little more from my guests. You'll find my Patreon there as well, and truly, the best way to support is to help get the Afro Storybook out there. Please rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps people see this offering. And please share the Afro Storybook with your friends, your family, on social media, and in groups. I am so grateful to all of my guests for generously sharing their stories and wisdom. All of this is medicine that will help so many people now and in the future. And for my beloveds out there who are part of the diaspora, remember that you are a child of Africa and you have family across all of the water and the lands of this earth. You are so much more than you may think. And all you need to do is connect and remember. Afro Storybook, collective wisdom and revelations from Africa and her diaspora. I'm your host, producer, and editor, Alexandra Loves, Aya Iwo-Riosa. You can find me at themoongardentemple.com or on IG at Tranquil Badassery. This is a production of the Moon Garden Temple and the Woke Wisdom Podcast. Please go to www.wokewisdompodcast.com or on IG Woke Wisdom Podcast to learn more about the storybook and my guests. My guests are Elaine Fusion Clapham, Judy Kalunga Kwabwele, Mike Crenshaw, Bailin Ramirez, Jibori Abla Yvette, Chekamala Diabate, Rachel Bashabe, Andrea Sugar Black Encinas, and Olutosin Oladoshu Adeboale. Special thanks to the Portland Regional Arts Council for the initial funding of this project. And also, special thanks to 7 Vision Studios for technical help and Quincy Davis for sharing his original compositions for the theme music and soundscaping for this storybook. Please consider supporting this project and future audio projects by subscribing to Woke Wisdom Podcast on Patreon. Thank you for listening and be blessed.